Hey everyone, how's it going? Happy Friday. I had today off, which I didn't realize till yesterday while I was in a meeting. I happened to look at my calendar and I saw that I was supposed to be out today, so pretty awesome. It's a nice surprise. I pretty much hung out all day and just relaxed, decompressed. But now I'm at school pickup and I thought, hey, maybe I should do a story time since I have so many wild things that have happened throughout my years. So I figured I would start with how I ended up moving to Rhode Island. So I think I touched on this in one of my videos, but I'm honestly not sure if it was a video or one of my blogs. So I'm just gonna wind it back and give the full run. So after my boyfriend had died, my mom was an active addict and I didn't really have anywhere to go. Like, I could have stayed at her house, but it was just so, with her husband, he was just like complete douchebag to me. He wasn't nice. And he was always like yelling at me for like dumb stuff, and she just allowed it. Like, she didn't really stick up for me because, you know, like, I can't say I get it, because as a mom, I would never allow someone to treat my kids that way, but she was also using, so she wasn't in her right mind, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. So after he died, his sister was like, hey, come live with me. So that was an absolute hot mess. I know I mentioned that story. So one day I ended up getting in touch with one of my brother's friends, or he got in touch with her, and she came and picked me up from New Hampshire, because after living with Crazy Katie, I moved to New Hampshire with a childhood friend that kind of lied about everything. I was supposed to be a living nanny. She was supposed to help me, you know, get my diploma, like go back to school, get a driver's license, all that stuff. Didn't happen. So this girl, Marianne, came to the place I was living in New Hampshire, because I literally had no way to get back to my hometown, New Bedford. And so she was like, you're gonna live with my parents and me. I was like, okay. I didn't know this girl from a hole in the wall, didn't know her family, and they welcomed me into their life. And I, you know, that's how I got my diploma, my driver's license, I got my first car. And then while I was in college, I had a professor, sociology, and we kind of hit it off. Now, I was only probably like 21 or 22 at that time, around there. And he was 39. So I had never dated someone that much older. You know, he was only, honestly, my second boyfriend. So, so I ended up moving to Rhode Island with him into his house. And at first it was like, it was okay. Like, I think pretty early on I realized maybe I shouldn't have did this. But at that point I couldn't really backtrack. I think I was too proud to ask to move back in where I was staying. So it was okay. You know, we had a cat, which was awesome. Named him Johnny, after Johnny Damon. But pretty early on, he kind of started showing like he was very controlling, but not in like a scary way. It was more of like an annoying way. Like, Saturday mornings we had to get up at I think it was like 7:30, because he wanted to, you know, to get dressed and go do groceries, and then we had to like go to different stores for like household items. Like, he was very regimented, and I was just not used to that. And my thing was, it's a Saturday, why the hell are we going to Stop and Shop at 8:30 in the morning? And he was just very like, no, this is what we do. This is what adults do on the weekends. And I was just like, okay. And then, so for a while, I worked as a maid for Merry Maids. Hands down, like, one of the worst jobs I've ever had. And, like, I packed meat in a freaking linguiça shop. Like, being a maid for people that, I don't know, it was just horrible. I absolutely hated it. And I remember the day I quit because the girl that I clean houses with, she called out and was basically like, yeah, I'm not going back. And I was like, dude, are you kidding me? So I ended up quitting too. I called her, the boss, and I was like, yeah, neither of us are coming in. Like, we're done. And of course she was like, you know, why? Like, what the hell? And it was just like, yeah, no. So after working at Merry Maids and after working at ServPro, when I moved up here, I was working for ServPro. And that was an awesome job. One I'll never want to do again, but it was a really cool experience. We get to like cut walls down and just, I don't know, it was really cool. So after those two jobs, I started working at Bob's, which was a game changer in my life, but I didn't know it yet, how much would come out of working there. So when I started working there, obviously I didn't have friends up here. I didn't travel down to New Bedford much, even though he had bought me a car. He jam-packed the weekend, so it was like I didn't really have a chance to make plans, and I think he liked it that way. So I started working at Bob's and I made friends, and he did not like that I made friends. Like, after work they'd be like, oh, let's go across the street, grab a drink. There was like Boston Billiards, and then there was also this place called Mardi Gras, and he would get so mad if like I went out and like had drinks and shit like that, like normal things that someone that's like 22, 23 would do. So he would get upset and we would have arguments about the fact that I went and hung out with people from work. He would not meet them, didn't want to meet them. One girl in particular, Meg, he was not a fan of her. And his thing was, she likes you. And I was like, no, like, she's not gay. I was like, we both like Pete Wentz. Like, she's totally not gay. And he would just be like, she likes you, I don't like you hanging out with her. And I was like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Like, if you don't like it, like, whatever. So soon enough, I was like, you know, this isn't working. My friend Meg offered me to stay at her house with her parents. Again, it's like repetitive. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm not happy. You tell me what I can and can't do. You give me the silent treatment if I do something that you don't agree with. I'm not happy. This was a mistake. Like, I shouldn't have moved up here with you. It was a total mistake. So I packed all my things. He was crying like a baby. It was very uncomfortable. Like, I felt bad, but at the same time, it was like, what did you expect? Like, I'm not gonna be like this shut-in and just like do as you please. Like, that's not gonna happen at all. So then I moved in with Meg and her family. And she only had a twin bed. And up until this point, I'm still like, she's not gay. Like, we both like Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy. So we slept in the same bed. Nothing weird. Like, we were friends. You know, girls do stuff like that. I think it's different for guys to like sleep in the bed together. But like, girls, it's just like, it's not a big deal. Like, when I used to sleep at my friend's house when I was younger, we always shared the bed. Or like we would make like a fort, like, you know, and like put bedding down on the floor. Like, for girls, it's just different. So I didn't think anything of it. And you know, at that time, like, pop collars were really a thing, and like, you know, layering polo shirts and stuff. So that's how Meg dressed. That's how I dressed, though. So again, didn't realize any of it. And then one day she was like, hey, I like you. And I was like, what? What? Um, and it's funny because now, like, my kid's dad always says, like, how did you not know she was gay? Like, how? Like, everything about her screams that she's gay. And I was like, looking at it now, yes, I see it. But back then, for whatever reason, her saying that she liked Fall Out Boy was all I needed to prove that she was straight. So so I was like, you know, I'm flattered, but like, I'm not gay. Like, you know, I like boys. So it was, you know, fine. She, you know, she was a little hurt, but she also understood, like, she knew I wasn't gay. But she just wanted to be honest with me. So then after that, her friend, and this was the other thing, all of her friends were gay, and I still hadn't put it together. Like, I had hung out with her and all her friends all the time. They were all gay, and I totally missed it. And there's nothing wrong with it. It was just funny. Like, I was just so oblivious and like cuddling every night with her. So, so one of her friends hooked me up with a guy that owned a house, and she was like, you know, you can have the apartment. It's vacant right now, and he said $600 a month. I was like, no, 500. It was 500 a month. Nothing was included. However, it was all guinea rigged. Like, his brother-in-law lived upstairs, so like he, the way the electric was set up, because it was kind of not meant to be a 2-apartment house, they all upstairs paid for the lights and the water and all that good stuff. And so basically I only had to pay the $500. Like, that was it. And again, I was still working at Bob's and stuff, so that was cool, except my landlord was a complete freak. Working at Bob's, there were like a lot of younger kids that were like younger than me, like, you know, teens and like in their 20s and stuff like that. So we would hang out, you know, we would go do stuff, and sometimes we'd go back to my house. And like, for people that were over 21, because I was totally not about to have that on my conscience, kids younger than that drinking at my house. So we would hang at my house and have drinks and stuff like that, and he would just show up, my landlord. He'd show up, and he was probably like 45, 50. So he was like way older than some of the people that were there. And he was just way too comfortable with like specifically one girl who was probably 17. And we had all gone out to dinner and stuff. So we went back to my house, and then we were going to go to Boston Billiards and play pool. So he shows up, and he's like, hey, who wants to party? I got a lot of alcohol, da, da, da. And I was like, whoa, first of all, don't walk in my house. Like, he would just walk right in my house. And then I was like, listen, these girls are young. You're not giving them alcohol. Like, I'm not okay with that. This is my house. I pay to live here. And please don't just walk in my house. So he was like, yeah, sorry, blah, blah. This happened many times. And then there were other times I would come home from work, and he would be in my apartment. And I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you in my apartment? Oh, well, I had to fix something, so I thought I'd just, you know, hang out and wait for you to get home. I was hanging with the cat. I'm like, dude, you can't just come in my house like that. That's not acceptable. And yeah, he was a wicked weirdo. And then the morning of my birthday, some dude jumped through my window and was standing at my bed, and I literally jumped up, screamed at the top of my lungs, get the fuck out, and then I chased him out the house. Now, this dude was probably like 6 foot, big, jacked, like, black dude. Chased him out of my house. I have no idea what I thought I was gonna do, but he was scared for whatever reason, so he ran out of my house. And so I tell my landlord, hey, someone jumped through my window. I'm gonna call the cops. Because first I called my landlord. I was like so scared. I wanted him to come over. He lived in the house behind me. So he's like, no, 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 don't call the cops. I'll be right there. So he comes over and I explained to him what happened. He's like, oh, don't call the cops. I know that person. I'll handle it. And I was like, how do you know the person? Basically by me saying he was like 6 foot, jacked, and a black dude. Like, there's no way you know who I'm talking about. And he was like, no, 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 I know who it is. I'll deal with it. I'll handle him. He, shouldn't have did that. And I was like, what the fuck? And now I look back and I'm like, oh, because he didn't want me to call the cops. Probably because he was here illegally. Like, everything this guy did was shady and, like, under the table. So, that was wild. And then, so working at Bob's, obviously, I made a lot of friends. And this one lady, Paula, this is the second Paula in my life. The first one was the one that I moved into her house with her daughter the day I met her daughter. This is Paula number 2, who was just this amazing woman, like beyond amazing. She gave me one of her cars to drive because I didn't have a car, and I kind of lived further away from work than initially. So she was like, I have an extra car. It's all paid for. It's on the road. You just got to pay, like, I think it was like $90 for insurance. I was like, okay. So she gave me a car. So things were going okay. I had an apartment. I had a car. And then I stayed at Bob's for a long time, off and on. But then some things happened. It was like, okay, I can't stay here anymore. Landlord was getting creepier and creepier. I'd come out of the shower and he's sitting at my kitchen table. Mind you, the apartment was like, it was so small. It was so incredibly small. The shower was a piece of shit. It was always lukewarm. It never was like hot water. The place was an absolute dump. It was probably like a 20 by 20. Like, everything was all in the same room, like, besides my bedroom. My bedroom was like off to the side, but everything else was open. So me being in the shower, he could see that I was like in the shower because the little fold-in door thing didn't work. So I was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Again, I called my brother and I was like, listen, I have nowhere to go. I can't stay living here. My landlord is a creep. So that's all my brother needed to hear. He was like, don't worry about it. Pack your shit. Move down here. And I was like, okay. He's like, I got an extra room. He's like, get all your shit together. We'll get you down here. So he did. And, I started dating someone. I, got pregnant. And the rest, is kind of, what the hell was I just going to say? I hate when I have brain farts. So, me and Kevin found out we were having Brendan. So I moved into my brother's house. I had the nursery within my room, which was totally fine. I was just thankful to have somewhere like steady and with family, you know what I mean? Like, I know my brother would have never kicked me out or anything like that. Living with him was very difficult though, because I don't know, I'm the same type of way though. Like, living with other people is really difficult no matter how much you love them. And that's kind of how it was for me and him. He's very stuck in his ways. He likes his house to be a certain way, when I have a baby, I bring in all this extra shit, So eventually I ended up moving in with Kevin to his mom's house, who I call Grammy. And after that, everything was okay. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of stuff happened during that time. But I mean, as far as feeling safe and not worrying about if I'm going to get kicked out and stuff like that, like, I always knew I had a place there. Like, no matter what happened, I could go back. And I did go back at some point. But yeah, just so crazy. So much stuff happened between the time of me moving to Rhode Island and to today. So that's just one story. I'll definitely make another story time. Maybe it'll be like a Friday thing. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great weekend. I don't think I will be recording this weekend just because weekends are kind of tough. But I hope you all have a lovely weekend. And yeah, take care. Bye.